Hello, everybody. Welcome to the OpenJaw Retail Expert Series. Today, we're going to talk about dynamic pricing and how to optimize your pricing strategy. My name is Colin Lewis. I'm the CMO of OpenJaw Technologies, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Dr. Barry Flynn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Baby Flynn. I'm the program manager here for Big Data and Machine Learning.
Great to have you on board, Baby. So what we are doing here is part of an overall retail expert series that OpenJaw have put together with a series of experts. And we're going to talk about dynamic pricing today, but we also have sessions on great retail experiences, loyalty, retailing, and beyond the offer. And we promise that all of these retail expert series webinars are short. They're under 30 minutes, and we give you our best information so you can actually put together your plans for what you need to do in 2021 based on some expert insight. Before we go on, let's just talk for a minute about OpenJaw. We have a global airline customer base, including ANA, All Nippon Airlines out of Japan, Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong, British Airways in London, Iberia in Spain, and we have an extensive customer base in China with some of the biggest airlines, such as Tianjin Airlines, Hong Kong Airlines, Hainan Airlines, and Sichuan Airlines as part of our customer base. And we've got locations all across the world: Dublin, Dalian in China, Hong Kong, Krakow, Madrid, and Galway, where we service our customers from. And what we like to say is we've got platforms and products to address the full customer journey. So OpenJaw's core platforms are OpenJaw T Retail, OpenJaw T Data, and OpenJaw T Social, which we have deployed across customers across the world. We've also got products and services such as our NDC proposition, our digital experience for our customers to experience great digital experiences on their browser or on their smartphone, and of course what we call the supplier marketplace, which is the collection of hotels and car hire and various different kind of grand products that enable us to create great products for our consumers and great airlines for their consumers. But first of all, let's actually start with some definitions. Let's just ask, what really is dynamic pricing? What does it mean? What are we talking about when we say dynamic pricing? Well, a sort of formal definition of dynamic pricing is the practice of varying the price to reflect the changing market conditions, in particular, charging higher prices at a time of great demand. And what we're really saying with dynamic pricing is that instead of having standard static recommended price or RP, the prices that are deployed in front of a customer when making a purchase decision, the prices are flexible based on current market demands. And really, actually, a much more everyday definition is what we want to do is get the right product in front of the right customer at the right price, and ultimately have supply meeting demand at the right price point. And that's the kind of formal definition there. Baby, what's your view on dynamic pricing and the history of dynamic pricing?
Yeah, that's a very good definition. In my view, airlines are often acknowledged as the trailblazers of dynamic pricing. So they've started the journey since 1980s to offer the same product at multiple different price points. But however, over the last decade, other online retailers have taken on, dynamic pricing to a whole new level, leveraging new technologies and utilizing new data-driven solutions.
So that's understanding what dynamic pricing is. But there's another thing we need to understand, which is, why is dynamic pricing important? Why now? What's the reason for us to pay attention to it right now?
Yeah, OpenJaw has been actively involved in the working group since last year, and we see dynamic offers as a major industry-level transformation initiative.
And it's part of our overall industry trends, but there's another element to this, which is, let's talk about the legacy of where airlines came from. And originally, airlines separated pricing and separated the inventory. And that's been around since the original airline systems were created in the 70s and 80s. And that, of course, creates a lot of difficulty to create an individual price point for a customer, because all of that legacy of separation of price and inventory is really means that pricing is static, and the individual price points move from, as they say, airline bucket to bucket for individual price points. And there's very little flexibility there. That's the legacy piece, but where are we right now in terms of the current market and the volatility, Bebe?
Yeah, Colin, nowadays people get accustomed to many options on the market, all at the reach of fingers. These options are often comparable. As such, the factors that could influence the purchasing decisions have become more complicated than ever. An estimate of market demand based off a single factor of sales records simply won't lead to an effective outcome. So facing all the tremendous turbulence caused by COVID-19, which most of us have never experienced in our lifetime, really requires a new and creative solution.
So speaking of creative solutions, such as dynamic pricing, what are the real sort of benefits? How can we encapsulate the benefits for our listeners today?
Let me walk you through the benefits here. So dynamic pricing is about maximizing operational revenue and optimize margins, but it's not just that. So a dynamic pricing solution involves the price itself, but also other driving factors like the product bundle, the total offer propositions, the customers, their long-term preference and short-term intent, and even the external factors like the events, the seasonal festivals, and weather conditions. So altogether, which we call a dynamic offer, provides the right products to the right people with the right price at the right time. So with all that, it will benefit customers, will improve the shopping experience, better loyalty, and even enhance customers' lifetime value.
So we've captured the benefits of dynamic pricing. How does this all come together? How do we break it down into its constituent parts and understand really what's under the hood? So let's look at dynamic pricing in detail here. How does it actually work? How does a dynamic price actually come together, baby?
It's quite complicated process. So, simply speaking, let's stay on a very high level. It really involves two parts. So the one is the product, to create a combination of products, a product bundle. This really dynamically. So, and the second part is the price. About the price, we price the product dynamically. So really is about the dynamic pricing is really about the ability to combine the two.
So this combination of product and price is actually dynamic pricing, rather than just focusing on the price together, a price on its own. So that's what I find very interesting about dynamic pricing. It's not just purely about the pricing. It's actually about a combination. So if that's the case, how do we put together these pricings? What's the systems required to go and put together these dynamic pricing?
So when we talk about the system, really talk about dynamic offer management system. It's pretty much made up of three elements. The first one is the inputs from the current airline systems. The second one is the tools and the platforms to take the data and the contents from the airline systems and create offers. So the third one, it is all about the channels and through which the offers can be displayed and offered to the airline customers. So above all of these three elements is the data platform, right? So for data platform, the tasks are really twofold, or you can say the focus are really twofold. So one is to support contextual and relevant offers where the shopping request is anonymous. And the second one is to support personalized offers where we can identify customers.
Well, that's interesting now, because what we're saying, there's a series of inputs that come from the airline pricing or inventory or revenue management, and then they flow into the systems, and of course then into the the channels that the customer ultimately sees through the travel agency, through a call center, through a website or an app. But the bit that really where the interesting piece is there is the data platform that enables you to create these fine-grained offers. And how do those offers come together? That's the next bit that I'm finding interesting. How do you create these offers?
Yeah, so I think as you talk about, let's focus on the first part, really about kind of anonymous shopping, or to provide the offers based on that. So let me explain a little bit more about anonymous shopping. What really means is about when people shop without giving their personal details. So we don't really know who they are, right? So, but through their search requests, we can infer a lot of things. Let me give you an example. You see, when people give the departure time, then we can calculate the booking lead time. And then for a return trip, we can calculate the trip duration. And if that covers weekend or not, So by combining all these kind of information, as well as a passenger mix, like a couple, a family with kids, or a single traveler, etc., we can infer if the trip is for a family weekend break, business travel, a summer holiday break, etc. This creates a context for the search. So based on
therefore, this is for the anonymous persons who can create all of this stuff for an anonymous individual.
Yeah. And the next part is really about predict the likelihood of the product being purchased in this kind of anonymous context. So for example, we can base on the trip type, we can just infer from the search, and we can predict likelihood of the person going to purchase extra luggage or priority boarding, etc. So by taking all these kind of data insights into the platform, we can recommend the most relevant product or product bundle in real time to improve the customer shopping experience, and of course to increase the conversion.
Great. So that's a very interesting one for what is quite a difficult use case, an anonymous use case, a very, very difficult use case. So what if we know the individual and we know a little bit more about the individual? Has personalized pricing and offer come together for that?
Yeah, personalized shopping is really the part I love. I love so much about it. But personalized shopping is about where we can identify the customers. So because we know customers, then we can offer a more sophisticated, product, our product bundles through the establishment of we call the single customer view. And we really start from identify the customers through the data across many relevant data sources. So once we get that, and so no matter of what kind of information the customers use for shopping, we know straight away that's the same customer, and all their past shopping experience, the past search behaviors, we know all that. So the one interesting thing we do here in OpenJaw is machine learning. We use machine learning to identify the subtle differences hidden in the customer's past shopping behaviors and make it clear and make it known to the airlines. So this means we can create a true customer segments and truly understand the value of that customer. So I am talking about here is through this kind of data and technologies, we can really know the customer, know their segment, and know their lifetime value. So through all these kind of knowings, the airlines can precisely price and personalize their products.
It's I find the whole customer lifetime value bit very, very interesting, because using that creates a real insight into who the customer is and knowing what price point you can put that in. And it's very new. It's a very different way of approaching things. So that's why I think the personalized offers are very, very powerful, just based on the lifetime value. But what if it's an offer by product? Because we talked about the person, we talked about the anonymous. What about if we want to create a personalized offer by product? How does that work?
Yes, that's really the core part of, and that's where the magic happens. So, what I'm going to talk about here is propensity. So what is propensity? So propensity is used to quantify a person's product preference by using the machine learning algorithms. So based on the propensity score, so airlines can refine their product or product bundling strategies for the offer. So this is particularly useful for ancillary bundling, right? Based on the customer's preference for the seat selection, the extra luggage, the priority bundling, things like that. So to a larger extent, this is probably the ultimate example of personalized offers by product.
So we're using a propensity model to work out the likelihood of the person being interested in that product, which of course then helps much higher conversions and a much happier customer because he or she gets the product that they particularly want. So how does this all come together? What's the tools and technologies required to create such a dynamic pricing model?
You're really slowly getting into the data and technology part of it. So, this slide really explained your questions, but it looks very busy. But let me explain a little bit more. So you can see all the building blocks on the left-hand side. That's to do with the data platform, right? That's all the key functionalities we use. We can unify all the data sources, and then we do lots of data transformation. Then we can do lots of machine learning to do with the customer segmentation, customer lifetime value prediction, propensity prediction. That's all the insights from the data platform. And on the right hand side is about the pricing engine, and this is really to take all the insights we got from the data platform, and then to create that dynamically to create that product bundles. And also we can, through that engine, we can dynamically price the product bundle. You see, this is how we do here to implement the dynamic retail pricing engine.
So that's the combination of tools and technologies around data, around pricing, around propensities and ancillaries, and of course, customer lifetime value enables you to actually create and know what the total sales value is going to be. So this is very, very powerful engine, very, very powerful capability. So let's just go back over everything that we've learned on this webinar, and let's kind of summarize all the points that we've talked about. So the first thing is the industry trends, the whole post-COVID world, the legacy systems, they really point to dynamic pricing capabilities being super important for airlines in the future.
And through dynamic pricing, we can create a personalized and contextual offers to the right airline customers. And we can also harness the power of data through a dynamic retail pricing engine.
And that was the bit that I found very interesting, is it's not just about creating a pricing model and dynamic pricing, but it's actually the power of the data, the fine-grained approach to thinking through customer segments and the individual customer need based on propensity, based on insights like lifetime value, and using complex machine learning to actually really create that.
Yeah, but Colin, is not just about the data and technology. It's data is a means to an end, and that end is customer. Through our solution, we just want to provide, a better, shopping experience to the customers, and then to help improve the better loyalty and enhance the customer's lifetime value. It's all about customers at the end of the day.
So really our final point to everybody today is that we must be customer driven. We need to still understand the human aspect. The data is important, the dynamic pricing is important, but understanding the customer and understanding the human aspect is actually really going to be where the ultimate magic happens. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Colin Lewis, CMO of OpenJaw. I'd like to thank you for all your time today.
Thanks, Colin, and thanks, everyone.